Hi Kate, thanks so much for being here. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoy your videos and your Instagram content. It's really fun. And also, I really like that you touch on kind of psychological subjects in your YouTube videos, because I love all this kind of stuff. Like I'm like a layman who is really into this. It's like my hobby.
Yeah, I feel the same. Yeah, thanks for picking up on that. And we'll go on to what you do in a minute, but I'm so buzzing because I've wanted to explore this topic for a little while. But yeah, I feel the same. Like I'm not an expert in kind of psychology and all that kind of stuff, but I just find it so fascinating, especially when you can kind of relate it then to your own experiences and your own life.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. You know, I think the whole world of kind of personal development and psychology and all that kind of stuff, I love it. And I think you can do a light touch on it, or you can really kind of dive deep into it. But I think it's a really valuable thing to at least explore, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, I often muse if it was another universe, like parallel universe, could I have a career in this as a therapist or as a researcher? And I don't know, like I think I could, but I'm also like I get really excited about style, and I always look at just analyze the way people look. So I think combining both and bringing it into styling, I think that's the best combo for me.
Yeah, that it's so fascinating. So why don't you just tell us a little bit more about you then, Kay, and about what you do, and about maybe how those two things kind of play together, the kind of style, and then I guess going more deeper, kind of away from kind of superficial just wearing clothes, right? I guess you touch on going a little bit deeper and how that affects people. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what you do? Because I'm pretty intrigued.
Yeah, totally. So I've been in the fashion industry all my life, pretty much all my working life, and it's most of the time, for nearly 20 years, I've been doing fashion editorial, consulting brands, working with celebrities, and I just always felt. I always think that fashion is still a very superficial industry. And I, for some reason, was blessed with the skill which applies to fashion. So I was always thinking, how it's gonna turn out, but it was kind of all okay. But then when I had my kids, your attitude just changes dramatically to all of this. Like your views change. You start thinking how you want your kids to perceive what you do, and what do you want to deliver to your kids, what do you want to teach them. And I actually was quite overwhelmed. I wouldn't say like fully depressed, but I was overwhelmed after a couple of years after I had my second one and second kid. And I just wasn't in a good place, and especially in a way, you're like, it depends on how you see creativity, but I felt like my creativity, if you think of it as in how do you do your shoot, your editorial shoot in the most creative way, I just felt like I didn't have it in me. I couldn't be like the most creative person. And I think I'm quite an ambitious person, so I'm always like trying to be the best and compare myself, which is not it's not the best trait to compare yourself to others. You should really only compare yourself to yourself. But anyway, so I was overwhelmed for a while, and then I was walking my kids to school, and there was another mom walking her kids to school as well, and she asked me what I did, and I said I'm a fashion stylist, and she said, don't we all need one? And it just made me think that why not? Why did I not think of it before? Why don't I serve normal people? And I can really change somebody's life if I give them the right advice and talk them through how they can appear their best self and help them with their confidence. So and then I founded Mind Over Fashion, and I called it Mind Over Fashion because it has the word mind in it, and it kind of, mind, in my opinion, overpowers the word fashion because it's ultimately more important. And I want to do everything through the, through the mind rather than just superficially. And I basically, I just try to incorporate some techniques. I love reading self-development books, and I always find some interesting techniques in these books, which I can employ with women I work with. So I've had Mind Over Fashion I started it just before the pandemic, which was also a great time to start because the fashion industry in itself was not in a good place at all. So it was a really good natural place to change, to pivot. And I like talking people through mindfulness techniques, so make them think before they buy something. And that's kind of my input. I wouldn't say I always strictly go for 100% sustainable brands, because to be honest with you, it's actually really difficult because there is pretty much there are so many things you have to look at, like the transportation and the fabric and the people who work on production. So rather than diving too deeply into being 100% sustainable, looking at those facts, my input is making people think before they buy. So looking at what they've got already, I always start with going through your existing wardrobe and trying to come up with the new combinations within the existing wardrobe. And then what questions do you ask yourself before you buy, how you can pause and think about it and stuff like this. And so I think that really helps. And I also, the most exciting chapter now in my life is that I started a membership which is called the Embrace Place for moms, because I really wanted to, I think I just really get moms because I'm a mom, so I really wanted to serve moms. So it's for moms to help them go from kind of being upset and grieving about their pre-birth body, like, because all of us think, I used to look like this and now I don't, and how do I change? And it's like, it's a completely new chapter in any woman's life, and you need to adjust to it, right? So I help them go from that place to the place of being excited and confident about their bodies.
Awesome.
So yeah,
that. It's so valuable, isn't it? And I guess that's the perfect example of kind of how clothing and style and how you present yourself is deeper than that, and it's about how you feel about yourself as well. So I think that's wicked. Just picking up on that point and then going back to your story about your kind of your own journey in motherhood and kind of feeling like you'd lost that creativity in your work and stuff. It's just so interesting, isn't it? Do you have any thoughts, either with your own experience or with the mums, the women that you work with, about how that transition to motherhood or how the motherhood experience kind of affects style and the way you present yourself and the way you feel about yourself? What is it about that transition that makes us adjust so dramatically to the way that we dress ourselves and the way that we present ourselves? Is it just the kind of practicalities of stuff, like, you know, you just head down, you're just doing your mum thing, so you just chuck on the jeans and the jumper? Is it a deeper psychological thing? What do you think it is that kind of our mum's biggest struggle in that transition? And have you got any tips, I suppose, for anyone going through that transition into motherhood, or even if you've been in motherhood for a while, about how you can kind of reinvigorate that, or just, you know, simple ways that your clothing and your style and your kind of personal portrayal of yourself can affect that kind of stuff? Because it's pretty deep, isn't it, when you start thinking about it?
Yeah, the most obvious thing which comes to mind is that we just stop thinking about ourselves. So every single tiny thing we do is we're thinking, how would our kids react? How would our husband, partner react? And it just it's all through that lens. So we kind of lose ourselves in that, and it's really important to remember that unless we are happy, unless we are cared for by ourselves, we're not going to be able to care for others, for our family. So that's, to me, that's the psychological reason. And there is obviously loads of practical tips which I talk about, how to obviously we want to stay practical because, you know, things are gonna get dirty.
You're gonna get
greasy
baked beans down your top, or
greasy fingers gonna get on our lap, you know. Loads of time I talk about how to layer dresses, for example, because there are lots of tricks how you can layer even summer dress to wear in the winter, or how to things which you might not think you can layer, you can actually use as a layering. Like, say, for example, a blouse, you can put a turtleneck under a blouse in the winter, or the same with the dress. So say I like dresses, versatile dresses, which button all the way down, so you can actually completely unbutton them and use them as a layering,
like a long shirt kind of thing. Yeah, I like
exactly. You can use it as a layering element, or you can, for example, have your dress and then you can have a sweatshirt on top, so your dress just looks like a skirt with the sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And obviously really important to think about the colors. So I talk a lot about the importance of the color, especially now with online. I feel that it became even more important, because when we only see a little bit, the whole focus is on color, because you don't really see the whole silhouette and the shape, and there's not many distractions. So knowing which colors make you look radiant and healthy is especially important now. And again, if you want to have those practical elements within your wardrobe to be, you know, around the kids, go to the park and stuff, again, the color can help. Although I don't recommend, if you say, for example, because some women tend, say they know that blue works well on them, so they just start wearing like 5 shades of blue, but it's all in athleisure kind of stuff. So it's still like, it doesn't really make you stand out, or it doesn't show off your figure. For some women it does, you know, if they've got balanced proportions and stuff, but it's nice to take it out of that context. And experiment a bit more.
I'm glad you brought up color, because I wanted to ask you about this. I wanted to ask you, how do you figure that out? How do you find your style and your kind of color palette and stuff? Because and interestingly, on the motherhood thing, I remember when my daughter was probably about 6 months, I had this panic where I was like, oh my God, I'm just wearing like boring jumpers all the time. And I had this real thing of like, okay, I need to work on my style. I need to be like a stylish mum again. And I went a bit kind of mad, and I was like, I need to do color. I was like, I'm really boring. I need to get color in my life. And I did it all kind of secondhand, actually. I'm a big fan of eBay and stuff like that, but I bought loads of stuff, and I bought bright colors and bright patterns, and I got like dresses and and it didn't last, because I don't do bright colors. But it's interesting. I was almost forcing it too much. I was like, I can't be boring, I've got to have bright colors. But actually, bright colors aren't me. I love I love kind of earthy. I love kind of like this, like browns and golds and kind of, you know, darker earthy tones. But I kind of had this almost subconscious thing when my daughter was young, like, I need to shake it up, I need to be fashionable, I need to have color. So if you're not kind of super confident about what your thing is, like what your style is and what your color palette is and what suits you and your skin tone and that kind of stuff, how do you go about finding out that? Is it kind of an instinct thing? Is it what you're drawn to? Is there an element of like trying to push your comfort zones a little bit and kind of try something new? How do you work with people to kind of find their thing?
So if we talk, I'll just focus on the color rather than the whole style for now. You've got to be really careful. So ideas like, I need to versatile, therefore I'm gonna go off and buy a bunch of bright clothes is not a good approach, because each person has a set of color characteristics which is specific to that particular appearance. And there are three characteristics. First is value. So it's from dark to light. And basically it's the easiest one to understand. With the dark one, it means there is more black mixed into the color. So say if you take I'm just trying to think if I've got anything near me, but if you take like any blue color with a rubber, and then you start adding more and more dark into it, it will become darker and darker and darker. So it will be navy, dark navy, nearly black, and then eventually it will be black. Or you go the other way around, you add more and more white into the color, and then eventually it becomes baby blue, very, very pastel. So this is your value. So for each person, for some people, lighter colors would work better. For some people, darker colors. Then the second one is warm to cool. So for some people, this is called undertone. So for some people, a warmer shade would work better. And for some people, a cooler shade would work better. And what it means is, what does a warm shade mean is that's when we add orangey yellow color into any color. Even the blue, which blue is classically considered the cold color, there are warmer blues and cooler blues.
Got it.
So more orangey blue, orangey yellow you add into the color, warmer it becomes. And more purplish blue you add into any color, including yellow, it becomes cooler and cooler. So say, for example, lemony yellow is a cool yellow, and
like this kind of yellow, like a goldy yellow.
This is a very, very warm yellow. But so now this brings me to the third category, looking at your hairband, is it's called chroma, and it's going from bright to muted. So your hairband is a muted color. It's not a bright color. And the way to get a muted color is to add more and more gray into it. So you start with your bright, pure color, like this, for example, and then you add gray into it, it becomes more like your hairband.
That's like, that feels like a more subtle one, doesn't it? Like the light and the darkness, that feels quite easy to understand, but that's a little bit more subtle. But
So
see that.
So like my characteristics, for example, medium dark, so not too dark, not too light, warm, and muted. So not very bright colors. And this is what each person needs to know if they want to know the color palette, and then they can go and buy stuff.
Do you just feel that kind of instinctively? Is it kind of colors that you're drawn to kind of naturally, or is there a more kind of scientific way of working that out?
I don't think anybody is drawn to it naturally. It's not, a lot of people say to me, but I love, I don't know, I'll give the example of myself. I love turquoise. But turquoise would literally kill me. So I would rather have turquoise in my surrounding than me wearing it. Because if you think about it, when I walk around, I don't really see myself. I see out. So it doesn't matter if I'm wearing it. If I love the color, it doesn't mean I should wear it.
I see.
It's for other people.
So it's more aesthetic. It's kind of what suits you. Is that kind of depending on your skin tone and your hair color and stuff like that? Okay, interesting. Yeah, so those two things might be quite different.
Yes, exactly. And another thing is the way I explain to people why, because a lot of people would say things like, I don't care about style. Like, you know, I'm not into it. I don't care the way I look. And I've been thinking about it a lot, like myself, literally, like, why is it important? Like, yes, I like style, but why is it actually important? And the way I explain this to myself and to others is that we all, one of the most important needs of any human is connection. We need to connect with each other, and to make the connection faster and to deliver our message, whatever, like I'm telling you something right now, or you're talking to your friend, you need to explain something. If there is imbalance within the way we look, that person, it will take that person who is next to us longer to get the message which you are trying to convey, right? So because you, even subconsciously, like say the person you're talking to, maybe they're not into fashion either, like they don't really care, but subconsciously, if you're wearing the colors which don't work on you and you look a bit you know, washed out because
like
of that,
something's a bit off kind of thing.
You know, there is a balance in proportions as well, so we're kind of gently trying to bring that balance into this. And also this is when you can think about your line of work, what you do, and is it aligned with the train of thought which the person would have who is listening to you. Because if you are I don't know, like say a health remedy expert, like you're maybe you're making remedies, but you are wearing like a really strict kind of tight fit dress made out of synthetic fibers, I don't know, that way there would be disconnect. They would try to listen to you, but they would be subconsciously, why is she dressed like this? Something is off, you know?
Yeah, that's so interesting. That's so true, isn't it? It's about the whole kind of atmosphere and vibe you get from someone. That's so fascinating. I wonder as well whether it's to do with how like that individual is affected by their own clothes. I wonder whether you've got anything to say on that, because if you're wearing something that feels a bit like either physically uncomfortable or kind of like you feel a bit uncomfortable wearing it, like your body language is going to be a bit weird, isn't it? I guess. Or if you're feeling something that makes you feel like super fly, like super confident and stuff, that's going to totally affect your body language and kind of the way you talk and the way that you kind of be with yourself, isn't it? So that probably plays into that thing about connection and communication as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I always say you need to be comfortable with what you're wearing. Like, you know, if you just can't wear, I don't know, heels, which not many people wear these days, but some do. Some people actually feel more comfortable in heels, maybe if they want to be perceived taller, for instance. But, you know, something, as you said, the tight clothes maybe make you feel uncomfortable. I would definitely kind of ask yourself these questions: what makes me feel comfortable? And also then the next question, what will make me feel confident? And notice which shapes and colors you look better in. I always recommend taking lots of pictures, having girlfriends over, boyfriends over, and for them to take pictures of yourself. Then you can print them out, you can compare, and you would notice intuitively if you compare. If you just have one picture, it's hard, but if you compare 10 different pictures where you're wearing completely different silhouettes and colors, you will start noticing which things make you look better. And when you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, yeah, I really, I feel uplifted because I think I look really great in this. Of course, it's gonna show off. It's gonna reflect in the way you act as well.
Yeah, I love that. I do that with my friends. I'm the annoying one that will message on the group chat with 3 different pictures, or like sometimes a video thing, like a full like video walk around. Which one should I wear? And it's interesting because it is different, isn't it? To just like glancing in the mirror. Sometimes if you take a photo, you've got like a different perspective.
But do you find do you sometimes find it overwhelming then if different people start telling you different things?
A little bit, although do you know what, sometimes what it does, if I ask a couple of girlfriends for a recommendation or for some feedback, normally by the time they've got back to me, I've decided anyway. Do you know what I mean? It kind of makes you come to the decision. I'm like, oh, I hope they get the green one, because actually I quite like the green one.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Triggers your own decision.
It's almost the same as they recommend to write things down, your thoughts down if you feel overwhelmed. It's kind of similar, isn't it? Because you kind of like, while asking them, you think about it yourself, so you're kind of asking yourself the same questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. Have you got any kind of advice then, or kind of recommendations for people, maybe if there's any mums out there that are just like, I don't know where to start, like I've just totally lost my style and lost my confidence. What are kind of some kind of gentle first steps that you'd recommend? I know you mentioned kind of looking in your wardrobe or what you've got already, which is quite a nice idea. How do you kind of start off that journey for people if it's feeling a bit scary?
I think that's the best idea, to invite a trusted friend over, just one friend, because then you don't want too many opinions to overwhelm you. Do it in the daylight, ideally, because then you can't really judge the colors definitely in the artificial light. Get a drink, put some music on, take everything out. I know it's overwhelming, but it's less scary when somebody, if your friend is there as well. Take everything out, put it into separate categories. So you've got your trousers, you've got your dresses, your cardigans, your skirts, and so on. And just start combining, and even try to come up with something which you've never tried before, like a combination which you've never tried before. Take loads of pictures and print those pictures out. And honestly, I think that's the best idea to do. And you will start noticing.
Yeah, I love the idea of making it a bit of an event as well, like making it a fun thing and a social thing. That's cool.
Exactly. So like inside of my membership, I've got a style party. So I've got a monthly style party, and I ask my members to bring one thing from their wardrobe which they're not sure what to do with, and just ask me on the Zoom call. And that works really well. So it's kind of like the same what I just described, just with me there, and then I kind of, I look at a few things and I say, okay, you can go maybe get a different style of trouser to go with this, or maybe this needs to be a bit shorter, a bit longer, maybe it needs to be altered. Like a lot of the time, it's such a small tweak which you can do, like say, just make a sleeve a bit shorter, or make the waistline a bit smaller, if you've got wider hips. So I think that's
awesome. I love that. And also I guess doing that with someone else, you get a different perspective, don't you? Like a fresh set of ideas. Other people will have new ideas that maybe you wouldn't have on your own as well, which is cool, isn't it? Also, exactly. I have found that a couple of times. I found a new combination of stuff that I've already got, and it is honestly like having a whole new outfit, isn't it? When that happens, when that works, you think, why did I never do this before? And then like, I want to wear this all the time.
Exactly.
How much reinvigoration you can get from just a new combo of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I heard it so many times. Women saying to me, "I would have never thought to put this together." And now I have like the whole new wardrobe.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. So where can people find you then, Kay? If you've got any kind of last kind of thoughts or ideas or advice to leave us with, please do so. And then let's know where we can find you and find that membership, because that sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, I will tell you the last thought. This is what I started recently doing with my members and with my one-to-one clients, is I ask them to think about one thing they like about their body. And the reason being is because we tend to generalize about everything. So we would say things like nothing fits me, or I'm ugly, stuff like this. And if you break it down into little chunks, it actually helps you to look at the situation more objectively. So more truthfully, look at the facts. Like, what does my body consist of, and what do I like about my body? And that way you can slowly build on it. So like, if you do this every now and then the list will get longer and longer. And the second thing, while you're doing this, making the statement, make it from the third person. Okay. So rather than saying I like my freckles, you can say I like Kay's freckles. Okay. And the reason for that is something which I learned recently. It's called the self-distancing tool. Or you can say, I think, distance self-talk, both of those things. And I learned it in the book called Chatter by Ethan Kross, which I highly recommend. I'm still reading it, but honestly, it's one of the best books on self-development which I read. And
I love book recommendations, so I'm going to clock that one. Thanks.
And it's the whole book is giving you tools how to harness your self-critic. And this is one of the things which he was saying, which is one of the most powerful tools, is when you refer to yourself in the third person and call yourself by your name, you're distancing yourself. So it's as if you're talking to a friend. Yeah. And that's another way to kind of looking at it,
right? It's a little bit objectively easier to be kind to a friend than it is to be kind to yourself often, sadly, isn't it? Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so this is my final tip, and where people can find me. So I'm on Instagram at Mind Over Fashion LDN, all one word. And I also, if you go into my link in bio, there is a freebie which you can get, which is on it's 9 ways to sass up your wardrobe after having kids, which is we all need that. And that way you can also sign up to my newsletter and find out, because at the moment my membership is closed, but it will reopen in a couple of months. To invite new members in, so that way you can be informed of when this is going to happen. So that's it.
I love it. Thank you so much. It's been such a joy. I'm quite sure I could just talk about these subjects forever. So I'm going to wrap it up. But yeah, it's been so fascinating. And look, let's stay in touch. And I'm sure we can do some other things. Maybe we can do some Instagram lives. And
yeah, I would love that.
And let me know when your membership's back open as well. And I can let people know about that, because it sounds wicked.
Thank you very much. That would be fantastic. And thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure talking to you. Keep in touch. And I'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.